Here it is. It's beautiful. It just reached me in London.
How grateful I am to be honored by the Foreign Press Correspondents Association in the United States.
I want to congratulate the scholarship recipients who are here tonight.
A very warm welcome to all the foreign and American journalists out there, as well as our supporters, friends, and anyone who's watching us virtually. We are delighted you can be with us. First, some introductions. I'm Cecil McCarthy.
I'm Momoe Ban, and this is the annual Foreign Press Awards ceremony of the Association and Club of Foreign Press Correspondents in the USA. We are excited to have you here today to celebrate with us the accomplishment, achievements, and hard work of thousands of foreign journalists who work here in the United States for global media and who, with their truthful, accurate, and first-hand reporting, keep audiences in their home countries informed about all the news from the US and at the same time help shape the image of America to global audiences around the world.
Well, first, a note about the big upgrade in our ceremony venue. You may remember last year we hosted the ceremony on Zoom from our living rooms, but this year BNP Paribas has very generously invited us to this live stream from their beautiful studio right in the center of Manhattan, as you can see. A big thank you to BNP Paribas for sharing this wonderful space and view with us.
Before we get to the awards, my co-host Cecil has a few remarks on the erosion of press freedom around the world. Cecil?
Thanks, Momoe, and I am sorry to say it is time to sound the alarm. Press freedom is under attack by 1,000 cuts, and not just in the usual countries known for their media censorship. What makes this particularly alarming is that attacks on press freedom are often a precursor to assaults on other democratic institutions and even democracy writ large. The roadmap to this erosion of press freedom is now all too familiar. Ruling governments first discredit journalists and call their fact-based information fake news. Then they spread disinformation and propaganda through complicit media outlets and social media platforms. This weaponization of social media in particular leads to increased partisanship and polarization and eventually undermines civil society, democratic principles, and finally, free elections. Journalists cannot take press freedom for granted in 2021. And the Norwegian Nobel Committee recognized this by awarding this year's Nobel Peace Prize jointly to my former CNN colleague Maria Ressa and Russian journalist Dmitry Muratov. Ressa's online news site Rappler is the top digital media company in the Philippines, leading the fight for press freedom while reporting on President Rodrigo Duterte's numerous human rights violations in his war on drugs. Now, although Ressa has been arrested twice, convicted of cyber libel in 2020, and now faces up to 6 years in prison, she continues this historic fight. Her story and the escalating conflict between the press and Duterte's government are chronicled in the film 1,000 Cuts, which I highly recommend. Ressa believes social media is helping authoritarian leaders who want to spread disinformation and manipulate the public. She calls it an atom bomb that has exploded in our information ecosystem and says disinformation is the new terrorism that poses a threat to not only press freedom, but democracy itself. In this digital age, social media platforms are the modern day printing press, but with one big difference. Information can be shared instantly and without any filter or fact checking. Now, here's the problem with that. Research confirms that misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories are all more engaging than real news. And we now know from Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen that algorithms are biased towards this information that sparks outrage, because when people have an emotional reaction, they are more likely to stay engaged, and Facebook makes more money. This is the foundation of its business model. So there are no easy answers, but I do know that the public must fight for access to fact-based information and that journalists must lead the battle. We need to educate people about the value of a free press and remind leaders around the world to respect laws that safeguard press freedom. We need lawmakers, tech companies, and even corporate advertisers to do their part. Near the end of the film, 1,000 Cuts, Ressa quotes Martin Niemöller's poem about the Holocaust that goes like this. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. But Ressa added one more line to that poem. Then they came to the journalists. We don't know what happened after that. So as the film ends, Momoe, Maria Ressa reminds us that what's going on in the Philippines with press freedom is a cautionary tale. And I think we should all be paying attention because press freedom is not guaranteed in any country anymore.
Thank you very much for this powerful statement. I totally agree with you. Now, it's time to hear from Nancy Prager-Camo, the chairwoman of the Association and Club of Foreign Press Correspondents in the USA, whose leadership and vision all these years has been an inspiration to all of us.
It is my distinct and proud pleasure to welcome you once again to the 2021 Association of Foreign Press Correspondents Award event. This has been the most amazing and growthful year for our organization. We have served the community of all foreign journalists working in the United States in ever-growing and relevant areas. The AFC provides annual scholarships in support of master's studies in the United States, augmenting their work as journalists. This year, we launched financial prizes for excellence among journalists. We created the Foreign Correspondents Media Platform to expose and feature their work at www.foreignpress.org. The AFC offers educational programs and resources to advance the knowledge, performance, and skill for foreign correspondents in multiple fields relevant to their interest and needs. We create mentorship and opportunities to advance the careers through our network of experts, partners, and supporters in global and U.S. media. Our 2022 agenda will be adding a significant forum supporting worldwide press freedom. We are proud and highly motivated by our significant efforts to date. All of the above is only made possible through the support of our amazing sponsors. We deeply and sincerely thank the following list of ever-increasing and truly supportive partners: Bayer, Toyota, Procter & Gamble, General Motors, Volkswagen, Microsoft, the Hinrich Foundation, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, the Libra Group, and BNP Paribas. Allow me a moment of reflection. Recent contemporary journalism is resonating with the perspective that there is no objective truth, no authoritative and independent criteria for determining what is true and false. With this philosophy, we all get to make up our own facts and create our own narratives. Everything is conditioned by your point of view. Hopefully, we're hitting a reset button, for we must clear the debris and manipulative misinformation. We have witnessed journalists wielding power from the grassroots, toppling dictators, breaking down barriers, creating opportunities where there was none. But the flip side of this coin is the perilous price paid by an increasing number of brave and fearless individuals who, in spite of dire danger, take up this mantle and provide us with honest appraisals. We must all support and stay true to our commitment. We must enable our journalists to be the engines of progress in their community, their regions, and throughout the shared world. We acknowledge them as change agents who responsibly ignite the spark and spark a social, economic, and political growth. We are ever vigilant to promote the highest standard of legitimacy and excellence. We applaud all our active members. Please be assured that we support your work, defend your rights, and honor your role as the world's conscience. As Archbishop Desmond Tutu has said, quote, "I am not an optimist, I am a prisoner of hope," end quote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy, and thank you for everything you do for our organization. Now let's hear from some of our other board members who are also working tirelessly on behalf of the Association and Club of Foreign Press Correspondents in the USA.
Congratulations, fellow foreign reporters. We made it through 2021. And what an astonishing year it has been. Starting from attempts to challenge our democratic institutions right in front of the building behind me, to efforts to silence independent media from Afghanistan to Mexico to Azerbaijan, where I am originally from. 20 of our colleagues have been murdered globally so far. Now let's be clear, freedom of the press is part of the fabric of our democracies, and it has been under attack for years. But in the past 2 years or so, we, foreign reporters, had to learn how to operate while facing a once-in-a-century pandemic. Some lost their lives, others lost their loved ones, while the press freedom enemies have proved to be incredibly inventive. They even use COVID as a pretext to come after us. Now, many of you had to deal with this stuff while being far away from your home countries and while combating your own personal struggles. But yet, here we are, united like never before, because we care. Yes, we have lost a lot, but we also have so much to be proud of. Journalists who speak truth to power were recognized this year with Nobel Peace Prize, first time since 1935. There's a conventional wisdom that we journalists, by definition, should be dispassionate. But if there's one thing I have learned throughout this year, that there are full of passionate people among us, united right here in our club. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Grant Schreiber, the founding editor of Real Leaders magazine and a board member of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States. Business leaders and entrepreneurs long ago recognized the value of diversity of thought when developing new products and ideas. Likewise, diverse points of view when we report the news and analyze our increasingly complex world also adds to a deeper understanding of the world around us. It stimulates innovation and discussion among our readers. The United States has recently seen a dramatic polarization of worldview, divided into two stubborn camps based largely upon party political lines. Adding the insights and perspectives of foreign journalists to our media networks is a necessary and critical way to show that there are alternate ways of solving problems. Many foreign journalists come from countries where they have already experienced the issues that America faces today. They have already seen solutions, they ask questions that break through the status quo, and sometimes they even know what may come next, based on what they've seen in their countries. Foreign journalists explain America to the world, and many times even help explain America to Americans. Foreign journalists in America are a rich resource of world history and current affairs who bring insights from their home countries and offer different ways of seeing American culture and politics. Silicon Valley was built on the intelligence and skills of people from around the world and has delivered incredible value to our lives and changed the way we live. If there was a Silicon Valley for journalists, it would be the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States. The organization plays a critical role in approaching the news from fresh angles and putting trust back into a badly eroded press.
I'm Clarissa McNair, Deputy Vice President of the Foreign Correspondents Association of the United States. It's rather thrilling for all of us to be here in a city that James Morris once called the Constantinople of 20th century. It's not the 20th century, but I still think the description is apt. It's been another year of fake news and increased violence against journalists, but we're here from countries all over the world representing countless networks and periodicals, seeking the truth, telling the stories. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michael Conniff, a writer, a journalist, and a very proud new board member of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents. It's really wonderful to be here and to be part of this, and also to congratulate those who have won awards and scholarships and taken advantage of all the programs that the organization provides to its members and to those who are interested in our mission. I'm particularly excited. I'm a third-generation journalist. My father was a journalist. My grandfather was a journalist. And I know from my own experience as a journalist that it was always such a great thing to be a foreign correspondent. That's kind of what everybody wanted to do. And the people who are posted here in the United States and part of our organization are among some of the best journalists you will find anywhere in the world. This is not an assignment they give to pikers or to people who are not up to it. So it's really, really a great thing, and it's great to be part of this organization. And in particular, at a time like right now, when I think journalism and news is under an existential threat. Because we now are living in a world where fake news has become a pejorative, has been adopted by authoritarian leaders, not just here in the United States, but really around the world. When they see a story, when they see news coverage they don't like. That's the existential threat. It's the threat that if we don't stick to our guns, pardon the expression, when it comes to journalism, and worry about the who, what, where, when, why, and how, the basics of journalism, the truth, knowledge, that we leave ourselves in a position where what do we stand for and who else in society is going to take that role? Because we are part of something I like to think of and has historically been known as the fourth estate. It's a part of society, a part of civilization really, that is critical to maintaining all of the society and particularly democracies. And so it is more important than ever now, I think, for everyone to realize the role of foreign correspondents, to realize the role of journalism, to realize the importance of news as we move forward into the 21st century at a time when when all of those things are really under threat. So thanks again for letting me be part of this. Congratulations to all our winners. And I can't wait to see what comes in the coming year for this great organization.
Hi, I'm Miriam Spritzer. I'm an international correspondent from Brazil, based in New York. And when I stop to think about my work as an international correspondent, is the first thing that means the most is having a community. And that's what the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents is for me. Because as an international correspondent, you're not really in the country where you're reporting to, but you're also representing that country here in the US at the same time that you're representing the US to your home audience. So when I think about the peers that I have here and the network, as well as the support and feedback from my peers, it's the one thing that I take the most to heart. And I'm very happy to be here, be part of this association, and I'm a proud member of the association as well.
The Association and Club of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States have worked well over the past 2 years. Successful webinars, trainings, a well-functioning scholarship program, and an excellent gala are behind us. Few ideas, suggestions, and solutions were received by the board. Among others, I raised an ethical issue myself, namely the conflict of interest between journalism and sponsor organization. As a result, the AFPC-US Club was born, which manages the solution. My other suggestion was that it would be good if foreign correspondents working in the US could publish their articles, interviews, and so on, not only in their home country, but also in the United States. Since the beginning of this year, foreignpress.org has been operating as the AFPC-US media platform. I also suggested that it would be good to establish a Foreign Correspondent Award. As a result, we are now celebrating our journalist colleagues who will receive the award. This award recognizes foreign correspondent work because we must work in an environment different from the culture of our homeland. In our work, two cultures need to be well known. My advice for all colleagues: never forget that the duty of journalists is so simple. When you speak, when what you say should be always the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Only full and unvarnished truth.
The Association of Foreign Press Correspondents has been serving the community of foreign journalists in America by offering educational programs and resources to foreign correspondents to advance their knowledge and skills in fields relevant to their reporting by featuring and exposing their accomplishments and experiences via Foreign Correspondents Media Platform, www.foreignpress.org. by providing them with annual scholarship in support of their master's studies in the United States, by encouraging them to pursue excellence in their reporting through the annual prizes of professional excellency accompanied with monetary support, by creating for them mentorship and opportunities for advancing their careers through our network of experts, mentors, partners, and supporters in global and U.S. media.
But none of these accomplishments would have been possible without the generous and long-standing support of our partners. And at this moment, we want to recognize these supporters of the foreign press in the U.S. and acknowledge them publicly. So please join me in a heartfelt thank you to Bayer, Toyota, Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, General Motors, CNN, Volkswagen, ABC, CBS, NBC, the Knight Foundation, Google News, and of course BNP Paribas, which is hosting us today in this marvelous studio. We also want to thank the Hinrich Foundation, a unique Asia-based philanthropic organization that works to advance mutually beneficial and sustainable global trade. It supports original research and education programs that build understanding and leadership on global trade. Its team of global trade experts apply their deep knowledge and experience to trade, economics, policy making, and education to deliver the foundation's programs. A thank you as well to, of course, all our other benefactors who have been standing by us all these years. And first and foremost of those is Mitzi Perdue. We could not be more grateful for your support, Mitzi.
Every year, the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents honors individuals in the public sphere whose work creates a global impact through journalism, diplomacy, academia, and literature. This year's recipients of annual Honorary Foreign Press Awards are
Hello everyone, bonjour à tous. It's wonderful to join you all virtually. I first want to thank the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the USA for inviting me to this event and for their honorary award, which I accept with humility and the drive to better support and promote freedom of the press around the world. But most importantly, I'd like to thank all the journalists who've joined us today. Journalism is not an easy profession, but it's an important one. You give a voice to the voiceless, you seek the truth, you tell the stories that the world needs to hear, and you hold politicians like me accountable to the public they serve. Une presse forte et indépendante est essentielle à une démocratie saine et prospère. Ce fait a été mis en évidence au cours des 2 dernières années alors qu'on était tous confrontés à une crise mondiale. En temps de crise, l'accès rapide à des renseignements fiables peut faire la différence entre la vie et la mort. Lorsque la COVID-19 a changé nos vies, les journalistes du monde entier se sont mobilisés. Vous avez travaillé sans relâche pour analyser les données sur la COVID-19, lutter contre la désinformation et raconter les histoires de la pandémie. Vous avez aidé les gens à rester en santé et en sécurité. Governments have a responsibility to work together to better protect and defend freedom of expression. We need to promote freedom of the press around the world. We need to protect journalists from arbitrary detention and persecution, especially as we continue to see an increase of violence and arrests against journalists in recent years. And we need to push back against disinformation. Because in a time when information is both easier to manipulate and more abundant than ever, your profession will continue to be incredibly important to building strong and informed communities. On doit tous contribuer à ces efforts. Le Canada et moi-même continuerons de promouvoir la liberté de la presse dans le monde. C'est la promesse que je vous fais. Encore une fois, merci à l'Association de la presse étrangère des États-Unis d'avoir organisé l'activité d'aujourd'hui et merci à tous les journalistes pour tout ce que vous faites pour nos pays et nos populations. I look forward to you continuing to hold my feet to the fire. Have a wonderful event, and thank you all.
We also have many other special guest speakers for you. It is such an honor to have them join us for this awards ceremony and share their message with the community of foreign correspondents in the U.S. But before we get to them, it is time to present the winners of the annual Scholarship Awards.
These 7 awardees were selected this year by the boards of the Association and Club of Foreign Press Correspondents among numerous exceptional applicants, and we are all very proud of them. Let's start with Noran Morsi from Egypt. Noran Morsi is a writer and podcaster studying at New York University's Literary Reportage MFA program, and holds a BA in Multimedia Journalism from the American University in Cairo, Egypt. Born and raised in Cairo, Noran's teenage years coincided with the January 25th revolution. She spent her first year post-grad as a reporter at Egyptian Streets, an independent online publication, where she founded the Egyptian Streets podcast. Noran has written 2 short plays and is interested in creating documentary theater work. Let's hear from Nora.
Hi, I'm Noran. I'm from Cairo, Egypt, and I'm studying journalism in the Literary Reportage MFA at NYU. I wanted to thank you for the scholarship. Without the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the US, I would not be able to complete my degree, and I really appreciate the support that's going to a lot of international journalists like myself. Thank you, and congratulations to all the other winners.
Our second scholarship winner this year is Idris Mukhtar from Kenya. Idris is a master's student at UC Berkeley's Graduate School of Journalism. Before attending graduate school, worked as a journalist across Africa for DW, CNN, and other regional, national, and international news outlets. Idris is a MasterCard Foundation Scholar and a 2021 Human Rights Center Fellow at Berkeley. Let's connect now with Idris.
Hello, my name is Idris Mukhtar Ibrahim and I come from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm a 2020 MasterCard Fellow and currently pursuing journalism at the UC Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism. I'm incredibly honored to receive this award. It almost feels like a pat on the back. I would like to thank the Foreign Correspondents Association and all the partners from the private sector who continue supporting the work of journalists the world over. This is really encouraging in a time, especially in a time that journalists continue facing backlash and other forms of intimidation. However, in a world so jaded by fake news, it is the good old-fashioned shoe-leather reporting that is still reigning. This almost feels like a glaring hope at the end of the tunnel for journalists all over the world. Once again, I would like to thank you all.
Our third scholarship awardee is Natalia Sanchez Loaiza, a foreign journalist from Peru. Natalia is a master candidate in bilingual journalism at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism as a future journalist fund scholar. She focuses her journalistic work on gender inequality, labor issues, and reproductive rights. Her reporting on the labor conditions of domestic workers in Peru has been awarded by the Gabo Foundation.
Hola, my name is Natalia Sanchez Loaiza and I'm a Peruvian journalist and writer. I want to start by thanking the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the US, as well as the stakeholders in the private sector that support the foreign correspondents community. I am so honored to be receiving this award today. I'm also so thankful to my friends and to my family and my community at the Craig Newmark School of Journalism at CUNY. I believe that it's thanks thanks to all your support that I'm able to pursue my dreams and my goals. Certainly studying in the US, studying journalism and being able to do journalism in the US is an opportunity and a privilege that I didn't think it was possible for me. Growing up in the south of Lima, Peru, I didn't know that the life that I have right now would be available for me. But what I did know is that I wanted to tell stories. I knew that I wanted to tell stories about my life, about my family, about my neighbors. And I think that after so many years and being so far away from home, I still feel the same way. I want to tell stories as a foreigner, as an immigrant, and as a woman. I want to tell stories about my community and for my community. I'm forever inspired by all my colleagues' work, and I know I still have so much to learn. Therefore, I also believe that institutions like the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents are so important for people like me and for us to be able to access and afford education in this country. Thank you so much for this honor.
All right, well, the next scholarship award goes to Eleonora Bianchi from Switzerland. Eleonora is a second-year student at the UC Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism. Her career at Swiss Radio and Television focused on narrative writing and investigative journalism. In fact, while studying human rights and international relations, she wrote a thesis on illegal human organ trafficking and then went to Syria to collect testimonies from civilians. Let's hear now from Eleonora.
My name is Eleonora Bianchi. I'm a Swiss-Italian journalist and a graduate student at UC Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism. I'm focusing my career on narrative writing and investigative journalism. I've covered stories about Syrian refugees as a result of my freelancing experiences in the Middle East. I've also collected information regarding human organ trafficking, and I'm currently working on an investigation about the mafia in southern Italy. It's a great honor to receive the award from the Association of the Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States, and I want to thank you all. I also want to thank the stakeholders from the private sector who widely support the foreign correspondence community. I feel incredibly privileged to be part of it. The year that is ending has been challenging from a human point of view and equally complex for journalists. The new evolution of the pandemic, the elections in America, the new international political order due to wars, and the new threats to women's reproductive rights. These are just some of the topics that have been covered every day with dedication and passion by international correspondents who stepped to the front lines to shed a new light on the stories, unfortunately not always prepared or protected as they should be. The challenges of reporting news in the most ethical, compelling, and transparent way have increased, and now more than ever is important to have a strong network behind. For this reason, this award is not only a very important support, but also an encouragement and recognition of the commitment that international journalists and correspondents put in every day despite the difficulties they face.
Khushbu Razdan from India is our next scholarship awardee. Khushbu is presently pursuing a Master of Arts degree in politics at Columbia School of Journalism. She is a multimedia journalist with over a decade of work experience in India and China. As an international reporter for China Global Television Network, she wrote about India-China ties, Chinese culture, gender issues, and mental health.
Hi, my name is Khushbu Razdan and I'm from India. Presently, I'm pursuing a Master of Arts degree in politics from the Columbia Graduate School of Journalism in New York City. Previously, I worked as a journalist in China for 3 years and India for 8 years. I'm thrilled and honored to receive this scholarship, and I would like to thank the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents USA for this opportunity and recognition, and for bringing together foreign journalists from all across the globe on one platform, and to facilitate the free exchange of ideas, knowledge, and experience of operating as a journalist in varied political and social systems. With globalization blurring geographical boundaries, today more and more people identify as citizens of the world. This has significantly changed the way we perceive news about countries that we don't live in. The role of foreign correspondents has become crucial in telling stories that have an impact beyond the boundaries of a specific country. Our lives are more entwined than ever. A more humane and factual narrative of stories can help news consumers better understand places that they have never visited and people they have never met. I'm excited to be a part of the foreign correspondence community, and I look forward to listening to the ideas and experiences of fellow member journalists. I believe an army of intellectual and fact-minded journalists is the only defense against misinformation and disinformation in the era of instant and unverified news.
Time for our next scholarship award, and it is going to Isabella Zavarise from Canada. Isabella is pursuing her master's degree at the University of Southern California, where she's focusing on business and data journalism. She used to work for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation as a video journalist and radio producer, covering stories about housing insecurity and sexual assault. Here now is Isabella Zavarise.
Hi, my name is Isabella Zavarise, and I'm from Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada. I'm currently living in Los Angeles, where I'm a graduate student at the University of Southern California. First off, thank you so much for this scholarship. It's an honor and a privilege to be recognized by the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the USA. I'm extremely grateful to the stakeholders from the private sector who support this community. This organization is an integral network and resource for foreign journalists in this country. It not only provides financial support, but it also fosters connections between international reporters. The Association of Foreign Press Correspondents is a proponent of press freedom, which we see being challenged daily around the world. In Canada, journalists are facing contracting newsrooms, they're having to confront disinformation, and more recently, journalists are being arrested by the country's national police force for trying to do their job. Freedom of the press is enshrined in countries like Canada and the United States, but it continues to be infringed. The role of foreign journalists is becoming even more important to democracy. Foreign press provides a unique point of view. These journalists are able to understand how policy decisions in the US will impact their countries of origin. Again, I'm extremely honored to accept this scholarship and extremely grateful to the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents. Thank you.
Last but not least scholarship awardee is Mercy Adhiambo Orengo from Kenya. Mercy is a student at the Graduate School of Journalism of Columbia Journalism School in MA Science cohort. She has worked as a reporter for various media houses in Kenya. She was 2020 Nieman Visiting Fellow at Harvard University, researching how to report on children and vulnerable communities. Here is Mercy Adhiambo Orengo from Kenya.
Hello, my name is Mercy Adhiambo Orengo from Nairobi, Kenya. I am a journalism student at the Columbia Journalism School, where I'm taking an MA in science journalism. I am deeply grateful to the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents for giving me this opportunity. I also want to thank the stakeholders, including the private sectors, for believing in foreign journalists in the US and giving us an opportunity to come here and pursue our dreams. I have always wanted to become a science journalist, and getting this scholarship brings me closer to pursuing that dream. And then now having this scholarship means that I do not have to worry about the financial burden that sometimes comes with pursuing higher education. So now I can only focus on how I can become a better journalist when I go back to my country. The Association of Foreign Press Correspondents is a very important unit because it brings together journalists from different parts of the world. It sets a reminder to us foreign journalists of the importance of just networking and coming together and doing things together. And I'm so glad that this goes beyond just the monetary form where you get the scholarship, but it's also creating friendships. It's giving people hope. It's giving us inspiration. It's also mentoring some of us who, for a very long time, worked thinking that we are independent, but now we are being reminded that if we come together as foreign journalists, we are actually better and we can even pursue better opportunities. So thank you so much, the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents, for believing in my dream and helping me pursue that dream to the place where it will take me. And I'm hoping that it will take me to a bigger and better place.
Now it is time to go back to London, where we'll find our next honoree for this year, NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel. For this award, I'll turn it over to the Vice President of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents, Susan Modares Tehrani. Susan, over to you.
Today, for his fearless, trusted coverage, his relentless pursuit of truth, and his dedication to the highest standards of professional integrity, it is my honor as Vice President and on behalf of the boards of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States to present to you Richard Engel with our Lifetime Achievement Award in Journalism, our annual press award.
It is such an incredible honor, and it is humbling and daunting. I didn't think I would get a Lifetime Achievement Award. I feel still very young. I remember, even though I've been doing this for over 2 decades now, I remember starting out, and I was a freelancer. I had no connections. I had no money. I would go to organizations like the Foreign Press Club and say, hey, can I get a press credential? I want to be a foreign correspondent. I want to go overseas. I want to send dispatches back and tell stories of intrigue and political importance and potentially unrest from around the world. And that was 2 decades ago, over 2 decades ago now. And it has been a wild but a wonderfully rewarding ride. It is the best job in the world. For the last 20 years, I've been able to sit in the front car of history as it is plowed over countries. And I've seen some wonderful, beautiful things and some moments of incredible heroism and compassion. And I've seen some very, very ugly things. But it has always been fascinating, illuminating, and it has been my privilege to share these dispatches with people who have the time and the willingness and the interest to tune in or read about them on Twitter or however the news has been transmitted and will be transmitted in the future. And I think right now, foreign correspondents, I thought for a stage that we were kind of a dying breed. I thought maybe with the internet and social media, you wouldn't need foreign correspondents as much. People would just be all reporting the news themselves. And that turned out not to be the case. I think the fact that everyone is out there with a phone and a Twitter and putting out part of the news is incredibly helpful. And it has revolutionized the news landscape, but it has also made credible, experienced, prepared voices all the more important. And this I would say to any young person out there who wants to be a foreign correspondent, you got to put the time in. Read the history, learn the language, spend the time, because it makes all the difference in the world. And I think right now that is the only thing that will differentiate you. It used to be if you were just in the right place at the right time, then you could make it. You could get a big break. Well, now everyone is sort of everywhere, so you're never going to necessarily be always at the right place and always at the right time. It's having the right preparation and having credibility. And I think it is a wonderful time to be a foreign correspondent because there's so much noise out there. There's so much information being pushed onto people, disinformation, that a trusted, prepared voice at a moment of historical inflection is an important job, and it's a lot of fun to do. So people who are out there who might be wanting to be correspondents one day, do it. It's the best ride you'll ever have.
You know, there has been a lot of talk about the role of journalism, how journalists' roles have changed or have not in recent years. What is the role of the international correspondent, in your view, in helping to spread democracy? And how can journalists working today fulfill their mandate, if they do have one, to speak truth and expose lies?
So I think democracy is too often confused with voting. Voting is a part of democracy, but voting is also just putting pieces of paper into a box or pushing a button on a computerized terminal. Voting can bring in dictatorships. Democracy, at its core, is dependent on a free press. It is dependent on having an educated public. And when I mean educated, I don't mean just that they've read Shakespeare and the classics. I mean they know what is going on and what is at stake. So I would say the most fundamental pillar of democracy isn't just folding a piece of paper and putting it in a translucent box and dipping your finger in some ink. It is knowing the issues, understanding the issues, and having the freedom to discuss those issues. So I think, I'm not trying to say that journalists are that we bear the weight of democracy on our shoulders. Absolutely not. But it is a vital profession to give people the tools in order to carry out their democracy. Because if they don't know what's at stake and they don't know what's going on, they can be manipulated and be cajoled or fooled into dropping those pieces of paper into a translucent box and carrying out the acts of democracy, which might actually work against democracy. Censorship used to be trying to stop journalists, trying to stop people like me from finding that needle in a haystack and showing people, hey, look what I found. This is really important information. Now censorship is about confusing people, bombarding them with 1,000 needles and 1,000 haystacks. So even if I'm holding it up, it doesn't matter because there's 1,000 other ones that look just like it. So the job is the same. Go find that piece of thing and show it and say, this is why it's important. Look at this. This is important. Look what I just found. The job is the same. But now there's so many attempts, deliberate and just by the nature of the technology, to confuse and blur out the message. That censorship now is not to hide it, take that object and throw it away, that still exists, but it's more to overwhelm and confuse, like the static on your television, that it becomes so blurry and so pixelated that you can't understand a story anymore, you can't understand the truth anymore. So the job is the same, but the environment has changed.
Richard Engel, thank you so much for your time and congratulations once again. It really was an honor and a pleasure to have you with us to accept this award. We really hope that you do come back and talk to our members and good luck on your next adventure. We can't wait to see what you're working on next and see you soon.
My pleasure, my honor. And thank you for all the work that you do and to all your members. And I would just say, get out there, get moving. There's a lot we've been missing.
Know this, but in addition to the scholarship awards, the Association and Club of Foreign Press Correspondents also supports foreign correspondents by recognizing their excellent work. This year, there are 5 foreign journalists from France, Ghana, Brazil, Russia, and Luxembourg who all made a difference through their hard-hitting reporting. Our first recipient of the annual prize of professional excellence is Janine DiGiovanni. Janine has been a reporter in many war zones and post-conflict areas in Africa, the Middle East, and Balkans over the last 30 years. She has documented the siege of Sarajevo, the Rwandan genocide, the fall of Grozny and Chechnya, and many other historical events. She is the author of 9 books, the latest being The Vanishing Faith, Loss, and the Twilight of Christianity in the Land of the Prophets. She also teaches, if you can believe it, human rights at Yale University's Jackson Institute of Global Affairs. Janine has won many awards for her work, including the IWMF Courage in Journalism Award in 2016, 2 Amnesty International prizes, the National Magazine Award, and awards from the Guggenheim Foundation and the American Academy of Arts and Letters. Please join me in congratulating Janine DiGiovanni.
Hi, I'm Janine DiGiovanni. I'd like to thank you for this amazing award, which will help me continue doing the work that I do. I'd also like to thank all of you for being here tonight, and I'd like to thank the association for being a guiding body for all of us. Stay well, everyone.
The second awardee of Annual Prize of Professional Excellence is Maria Danilova. Maria is a journalist at Agence France Presse in Washington, D.C. She has spent over 10 years reporting from Russia, Ukraine, and other ex-Soviet states for the Associated Press. She also covered education and foreign affairs in AP's Washington Bureau. Her long-form stories have appeared in Harper's Magazine, The Atlantic Tablet, Columbia Journalism Review, Vice News, Rest of World, and other publications. Maria Danilova is the recipient of the Knight Bagehot Fellowship in Economics and Business Journalism at Columbia University and the winner of Matthew Power Literary Reporting Award. Her first book, children's novel titled Anya Here There, is out in December. Maria, congratulations and welcome.
Hello, my name is Maria Danilova, and I'm a journalist with Agence France Presse. I'm very honored and humbled to receive this award. I wanted to thank the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents for the great work they're doing and for helping this community thrive. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the story that I submitted for this award. One of the characters in my story was a girl in southern Russia who had a serious neurological condition. And she was in constant pain, she was screaming, she was inconsolable. But she didn't have access to medication that could soothe her pain. As I kept reaching out to all the doctors and health officials involved in her care, and got more experienced doctors involved in her case, she was finally given medication for her pain. She started feeling better, she started smiling, and her mother was very grateful. That is all to say that the work we're doing, telling stories that otherwise wouldn't be told, exposing wrongdoing, telling about problems and helping people, even if it's one family and one girl, is very important. Thank you.
Our next honoree for professional excellence is Philip Cowther from Luxembourg. Philip is the international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press. He reports live for the AP's broadcast affiliates from the biggest news events around the world. And listen to this, he speaks 7 languages fluently and reports in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, and Luxembourgish, which, in case you were wondering, is a West Germanic language spoken mainly in Luxembourg. He is based in Washington, where he covers the White House, and has traveled to many breaking news events in the Americas, but also further afield. In fact, he just returned from the UN Climate Conference in Glasgow. Before that, he was reporting from Tokyo on the Olympics. He's also stationed in Pakistan during the mass evacuation from Afghanistan at the end of the summer. Congratulations, Philip, and over to you.
Hi, I'm Philip Crowther, International Affiliate Correspondent with the Associated Press here in Washington right now. Thank you very much, of course, to the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States for the prize. And thank you here at the Associated Press to those I work with on a daily basis, Susan Henderson, Nico Maunis, and Andy Bradle, who believed in this whole concept, if you will, in the first place, having me broadcast in 6 languages around the world to a plethora of different TV channels is something that, as far as we know, hadn't been done before. So it's quite innovative, and we, of course, didn't know whether this was going to be successful or not. We believe it is right now, and it is great fun, of course, also to be doing this. You've probably seen why we got this award for our coverage of the inauguration of President Joe Biden, something that we did in 6 languages because there was so little access to other correspondents at the inauguration itself, during the COVID-19 pandemic, during fears of further violence at the Capitol as well. And this was made possible also, should always be mentioned, by those behind the camera. Jaime Vera was the cameraman during that event, and during others during the last few years working with the AP. Luke Meilander has been the cameraman on many of those. Also, congratulations, of course, to the other awardees from Russia, from Ghana, from France, and from Brazil. I'd also like to say that the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States is doing a very important and commendable job, because we as foreign correspondents, of course, have to be united as much as possible. Even though we do very, very different jobs, we concentrate on very, very different topics, we work in very different ways, but we still need to be respected as much as possible and protected as well in the country in which we work. We also need to be able to get as much access as possible to members of the administration, for example, or to other departments within the US government. This is something that I was working on closely when I was the president of the Foreign Press Group within the White House Correspondents Association. I was the president during the transition between the Obama administration and the Trump administration, and at that time we risked losing our access as foreign correspondents to the president, to the association, and we fought tooth and nail to keep that access. And I think that is a risk that will come up again and again for us as foreign correspondents, and something that we will be fighting for a very long time in the future. I'd also like to leave a very short message, which is that we as foreign correspondents also risk, just like our American counterparts, to be criticized as propagators of fake news, even though, of course, none of us are. There is always this fear that if we get one small thing wrong, that it might be picked up on by somebody, and that it will then spread like wildfire to show that we as journalists are not entirely truthful, which I would hope, of course, we all are. We have to be even more vigilant these days, and maybe even more in the future, that we check and recheck our facts again, so that we don't make a single factual mistake which might be caught and might be seen as an example of us not doing our job properly. So I think this is a time when we have to redouble our efforts to be as factual as all of us journalists should be, of course. So thank you again to the Association of Foreign Correspondents in the United States. It's a pleasure being with you during this awards show. And of course, at the very end, happy holidays to everybody, Merry Christmas, and I hope to see as many foreign correspondents based in the United States over the next few weeks, months and years as possible. Thanks a lot.
Next Professional Excellence Prize awardee this year is Lee Atrophy Smart Abi from Ghana. Lee Atrophy Smart Abi is a freelance multimedia journalist with over a decade's experience across media platforms. Currently based in New York City, he started his career as an intern at one of Ghana's top-rated radio stations in the capital, Accra. He became the nation's first intern to take on additional responsibility as a news anchor. He has since worked as a television news anchor and producer in Ghana and the Republic of Congo, as well as a writer, editor for print and online news portals in Ghana and the United States. Lee, congratulations.
Hello, I'm Lee Atrophy Smart Abi. I'm a freelance multimedia journalist from Ghana and a correspondent for Africa News, a television station that broadcasts to the African continent in English and in French. First of all, I want to express my gratitude to the board of the Foreign Press Correspondents Association and to the panel that worked on the awards for counting me as one of the recipients of this award. I spent the start of my career running away from the business desk because I thought it was all about figures. But this award I consider it a full circle moment for me because it is a testament also to the power of storytelling as far as I'm concerned. I'm being recognized today by my peers and my seniors because of the stories of Matthew and Christopher, who, in the face of a raging pandemic and tremendous pressure from families back home and here in the United States, braved the odds and got creative so they could provide for their families. Now, I know as journalists, we are often tempted to chase after politicians and celebrities because, of course, their stories sell. But what about the stories of the everyday person? The silver lining from this pandemic for me has been the increase in the number of stories about everyday people and the amazing things they've done during the pandemic and continue to do to this day to help us keep moving forward. And I hope that when the pandemic is over, we will keep the spotlight on the many, many incredible stories around us, even if the heroes of these stories are not superstars or powerful people. If anything, I hope their remarkable deeds can and will inspire us all to become better people. I'm grateful to God for the opportunity to keep telling stories, and I hope to get better at it every day. And I hope that the stories that I tell do make an impact on our lives. I also want to thank Matthew and Christopher for trusting me with their stories and for sharing it with me. I also want to thank my friends and colleagues who helped with various leads to make this story possible. Thank you all, and God bless us all.
Well, our last recipient of the annual prize of professional excellence is from Brazil. Her name is Patricia Vasconcelos. Patricia is the U.S. correspondent for Brazilian TV network SBT, or Sistema Brasileiro de Televisão. Patricia began her career as an anchor in 2001 before joining SBT in 2008. As a Latin American correspondent, she covered South and Central America for 6 years, but now she's based in New York and Washington, D.C., where she's covering politics, the economy, American culture, and the big one, the White House. Her documentary about the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests and the police response to those protests is called Curfew in New York City, and it won multiple awards, including Best Short Film from the New York Film Awards and Best Director from the New York International Film Awards. I saw it, highly recommend it. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Patricia Vasconcelos.
Hello everyone, I'm Patricia Vasconcelos, correspondent of Brazilian TV network SBT, and I'm extremely honored with this award, honestly, especially because it is granted after a selection of the boards of the Association and Club of Foreign Press Correspondents in the West. Boards composed of extremely experienced journalists who share the same role, the same challenges of our profession. So, knowing that my work was chosen by colleagues, journalists from different countries gives me a feeling of gratitude and makes me have even more energy for the daily work of reporting to my country, Brazil, what happens here abroad. I believe that our work of foreign correspondents is essential because we bring our foreign gaze to the place from where we are reporting. We see details that not everyone sees, and in a press conference, for example, here in the White House or in any other place, we might raise different questions that those expected, precisely because we have this foreign gaze. I believe that this happened when I was covering the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, which was analyzed in order to receive this award. I was on the streets reporting a local situation here which impacts communities in different parts of the world with my foreign eyes. I also would like to thank the Association of Foreign Correspondents in the West for putting us together, for encouraging our work with scholarships, awards like this one, and all types of incentives that international journalism needs. By doing this, our work is stronger. Journalists matter. It's also teamwork, and because of that, I cannot end this without expressing my gratitude for my colleagues from SBT in Brazil, all editors who put our packets together every day, our editors from the international desk, Thiago Ferreira, Leonardo Ferreira, our editors-in-chief, Silene Frias and Mônica D'Alfonso, Rodrigo Ronhart from SBT News, and our director of journalism, José Occhiuso. I also would like to say that I share this award with all of us, foreign journalists committed to the truth and the mission to inform our society. Thank you very much.
it is now time to introduce the very special recipient of the annual Foreign Press Award.
And we have to say that we are honored that Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield is the recipient of the annual Foreign Press Award for 2021, because I believe that everyone agrees that she is the ultimate representation of the award's gravity and symbolism. And I think that she brings also a lot of experience in the diplomatic field.
She brings, in fact, decades of diplomatic experience to her job representing U.S. interests in the UN Security Council and the UN General Assembly on political issues, post-conflict peace building, humanitarian assistance, and, of course, human rights.
And Ambassador Thomas Greenfield's distinguished foreign service career includes an ambassadorship to Liberia and posting in Switzerland, Pakistan, Kenya, the Gambia, Nigeria, and Jamaica. In Washington, she served as Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Bureau of African Affairs and as a Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration.
Well, this is a very exciting moment for us, and I would like to say hello and welcome on behalf of all three of us, Ambassador Thomas Greenfield.
Thank you so much, Thanos, Siso, Moe, and the entire association for this great honor. I am truly humbled. I have found throughout my career that public service takes many forms. It can mean government service, which is the route that I took. I was in the Foreign Service for more than 35 years. It can mean working in civil society at an NGO or nonprofit, providing humanitarian aid or working to strengthen our institutions. Or it can mean being a journalist who expose truths and ensure the public is well informed. It does not matter how you serve. What matters is whether you are making your country and the world better. In this moment, I am thankful for all who work to serve the public, especially journalists. Earlier this year, 2 journalists were awarded one of the world's greatest honors, the Nobel Peace Prize. Maria Ressa and Dmitry Muratov were given the award for, in the Nobel Committee's words, their efforts to safeguard freedom of expression, which is a precondition for democracy and lasting peace. That precondition for democracy is so important right now because around the world, democracy is under attack. Authoritarians are tightening their grips, spreading misinformation and disinformation, and challenging our democratic norms and ideals at every turn. As part of these efforts, they have intimidated, censored, silenced, detained, jailed, and even killed journalists. That is horrific. I am committed through the United Nations, the Group of Friends for the Protection of Journalists, and my own platform to calling out governments that suppress the media or the right to free expression in any way. We know the reason why authoritarians do these terrible things. They know that truth is one of the most powerful weapons we have in our arsenal. The truth can advance an important idea. It can hold an official, elected or not, to account. It can expose corruption or shine a spotlight on injustice. Perhaps most important, the truth helps us improve because no country is perfect, including my own. The truth sets us free. But democracies deliver for their people because we are committed to being transparent, to holding ourselves accountable, to constantly striving to better serve our people. That is the power the truth holds. And that is the power you wield each and every day. So thank you for your courage in the face of intimidation, violence, and adversity. Thank you for your relentless, dogged pursuit of the truth. Thank you for representing the free and independent press that is both a precondition and a central pillar of every democracy. And I thank you for this prestigious award. I promise to do everything in my power to protect the universal right to free expression and to live up to this tremendous honor.
We are honored to have some special guests who are with us here today to congratulate our awardees and share their message of support to the community of the foreign press in the United States.
Bear is one of the strongest advocates of press freedom and independent journalism, and we want to say a big thank you for their ongoing support and partnership. We are so grateful for not only their contributions, but for their team, particularly Senior Vice President and Head of Communications for Bear US, Beth Roden, and Vice President of External Communication, Chris Loader. Thank you, Beth and Chris.
I'm Beth Roden, Senior Vice President and Head of Communications for Bear US, and we are proud to be a leading sponsor of the Association of Foreign Correspondents and the USA's annual Foreign Press Awards ceremony. We want to congratulate all the scholarship and award recipients as they truly represent the best that today's journalism has to offer. We are especially pleased that through Bear's support, foreign journalists of diverse backgrounds can study, work, and live right here in the United States. This is especially gratifying when you consider the cuts in newsroom budgets for journalist training and education programs. As a global life sciences leader, Bear welcomes this opportunity to reaffirm our long-standing support of freedom of the press and freedom of speech. Now more than ever, we need journalists to educate the public fairly and accurately about the important issues of the day. We've seen during the global COVID-19 pandemic, the most important public health crisis of our time, how misinformation can spread and leads to deadly consequences. And we've seen government crackdowns on journalists who attempt to seek the truth about COVID-19 with several reporters imprisoned while attempting to report the facts about the coronavirus. That's why it's so important for companies like Bear to stand up and express publicly our support for fair, balanced, and accurate reporting. And as a company dedicated to healthcare and nutrition, Bear knows firsthand the importance of accurate reporting based on science. Freedom of the press is a cornerstone of our nation's democracy, and this year's honorees have demonstrated great bravery and courage in reporting the news at a time when press freedom is under attack. The numbers are truly staggering. The Committee to Protect Journalists reports that more than 1,400 journalists were killed between 1992 and 2021 in retaliation for their work. In addition, there were 274 journalists imprisoned and 65 missing journalists as of the end of 2020, the highest number ever recorded. These threats to press freedom must end. On behalf of Bear, we want to express our heartfelt gratitude to today's scholarship and award winners and congratulate them again on a job well done.
Microsoft has been a long-standing supporter of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents, helping us create impact through our training and educational programs and the support we offer to foreign correspondents through scholarships and prize of professional excellence. It is an honor to have with us today Frank X. Shaw, who is the Corporate Vice President for Communications at Microsoft and has a message to share with our awardees and our community. Frank, welcome and thank you for being with us.
The dissemination of news and information has always been the machinery that powers our democracy. And our society relies on great journalism to pursue the truth and hold the powerful accountable, even as this industry continues to face daunting challenges from political retaliation, economic viability, and the surge of misinformation and disinformation. The work that the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States does in advancing, expanding, and reinforcing foreign journalists' efforts in this country continues to be critical, more so now than ever before. And in pursuit of these great efforts, we couldn't be prouder at Microsoft to play our part in supporting the AFPC-USA and the next generation of foreign correspondents and journalists. In our job as storytellers for Microsoft, we're called to improve our storytelling every day, and the best way we found to do this is to look at great stories, whatever the form, and learn from them. That's why we want to especially congratulate the 2021 awardees. The stories you have already told are incredibly meaningful, and we look forward to seeing what stories you will tell next. Thank you, and congratulations.
We also want to express our gratitude to Mitzi Perdue, who is an anti-trafficking advocate. Her support of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the U.S. and its media platform, www.foreignpress.org, is helping educate foreign journalists and advance their reporting skills on these anti-trafficking stories. Mitzi, we are thrilled to have you with us here today, and the floor is yours.
Congratulations, fellow members of the AFPC. Especially congratulations to the awardees. For me, it's just such a privilege to share with you just a few thoughts. And the thought that I really want to share with you, it comes from the anthropologist Margaret Mead. Margaret Mead, you may have heard of the quote. It's kind of famous. If you haven't, I'm delighted to be the one introducing you to it. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Well, friends from the AFPC, that small group of committed citizens, that would be you. That's what you do. You have in your hands the ability to change the world, and for the better. Whether it's climate change, social justice, whatever the issues that matter, you're the ones who can change the world. I congratulate you. I send you my love, and I'm just thrilled that this wonderful organization exists.
Let's now connect with Scott Vazin, Chief Communications Officer at Toyota Motor North America. Scott and Toyota are valued partners and supporters of the educational program, media platform, scholarships, and prizes of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents. And we are so grateful for having them as strong allies of our impactful mission. Thank you, Toyota and Scott, for being strong advocates for press freedom, education, and excellence in journalism. And now, let's turn it over to Scott.
Hello, everyone. Here at Toyota, my responsibilities as Chief Communications Officer is to tell our company's stories. I often tell my team it's our job to inform, engage, and at times entertain our key stakeholders. And in the past 20 months or so, it has also been important to help calm our stakeholders and reassure them that Toyota has got their back. In our business, we continue to see the importance of factual, non-biased information. Unfortunately, too often, we see misleading or downright false information being disseminated. We, as communications professionals, must do our part to ensure journalistic integrity, a balanced approach, and the truth is not forgotten or ignored. That's why we continue to partner with the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents for these scholarship awards. We need to make sure the next generation is doing what they can to tell better and more engaging stories, help improve the way society is informed, ensure our First Amendment rights are never eliminated, and we need to make sure all voices are heard so no one group stands above another. This aligns with Toyota's core foundation of respect for people and continuous improvement. And I'm proud of our scholarship recipients who are setting the benchmark for their chosen fields. We have 3 scholarship recipients. The first is Noran Morsi from Egypt. Noren is a writer and podcaster studying at New York University's Literary Reportage MFA program and holds a BA in Multimedia Journalism from the American University in Cairo. Our second recipient is Eleonora Bianchi, who is a Swiss-Italian and a first-year student at the UC Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism. She is fluent in Italian, French, German, and English, and is an advocate for human rights. Our third recipient is Mercy Adhiambo Orengo from Kenya. Mercy is a feature writer at The Standard in Kenya and is currently pursuing a master's degree at Columbia University in Journalism Science concentration. Now, this year, we would also like to congratulate two people who have been given the Professional Excellence Award. First is Philip Crowther from Luxembourg. Philip is a Washington, D.C.-based TV and radio journalist. He's an international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press and reports in 6 different languages for AP's broadcast partners. Our second award winner is Patricia Vasconcelos. Patricia is the U.S. correspondent for a Brazilian TV network, where she has reported on numerous international events and is also an award-winning documentarian. On behalf of Toyota Motor North America, I'd like to extend my congratulations to our scholars, our Professional Excellence Award winners, and to all recipients this year. We are counting on all of you to uphold the traditions, values, and integrity of the Foreign Press Correspondents. With your passion, talent, and efforts, I'm confident you will make a difference and help improve society for generations to come. All the best and happy holidays.
And now let's go to Washington, D.C., where we find the one and only Jim Acosta, CNN's anchor for weekend programming and the network's chief domestic correspondent. Jim, so nice to have you here with us today. Over to you.
My name is Jim Acosta. I now anchor CNN Newsroom on the weekends. It's perfect for journalists who need a good reason to put down their laptops on Saturdays and Sundays. Forgive me for working in a plug for the show, but you understand. You may also remember my work as the chief White House correspondent for CNN. During that time, I was a member of the White House Correspondents Association, and so, of course, I understand the value of groups like the Foreign Correspondents Association, and it's an honor to address this distinguished organization and recognize this year's award recipients. This is a critical time for our profession, as you all know. As we've seen over the last several years, the truth has been under assault, and much of the world is dealing with the consequences. As a pandemic has swept across the globe, people have had to sort through a rising tide of disinformation to find the facts about how to combat a deadly virus. Journalists have served on the front lines of getting accurate, reliable information about COVID to the public. It's crucial that news outlets continue to do this vital work of pursuing the truth. The health of democracies around the world also depends on reporting the facts. As we found out in 2021, big lies can lead to trouble anywhere. One big lesson I've learned during my career is that it's important that journalists, when under attack, simply stand their ground and keep doing the work. Our work matters because the truth matters. That's why we are proud of what we do here at CNN, not only here in the United States, but around the world, from Afghanistan to Ukraine to China and, yes, to Washington. Our teams have reported on fast-moving events that have had an enormous impact on our daily lives. That work is driven by a passion for the truth. So it's our pleasure to honor the journalists who share that passion. Congratulations to this year's award recipients and the nominees whose great work we celebrate today. Thank you.
General Motors envisions a world of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. And the company is committed to achieving its environmental goals in a way that is socially inclusive to benefit communities more broadly. The company supports free and open reporting to keep international audiences well informed. We are honored by General Motors' support, and at this point, I would like to welcome Steve Kiefer, General Motors Senior Vice President and President of General Motors International.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and pleasure to represent General Motors at the Annual Association of Foreign Press Correspondents USA's annual awards. To the association, I congratulate you on the work you are doing to support and promote free, fearless, and fact-based reporting around the world. To the exceptional journalists who are receiving scholarships and recognition today, I extend my heartfelt congratulations. The General Motors International region that I lead represents 60 markets across Russia, Europe, the Middle East, Asia Pacific, and South America. So while you're referred to as the foreign press here in the US, you are not foreign to our GM International team. As members of the global media, you all hold positions of great influence and responsibility. Your work has never been more important as the world comes to grips with a global pandemic and faces into significant challenges and opportunities of our time. At GM, we're creating a future of zero crashes, zero emissions, and zero congestion. We believe we can create a future that is not only good for our company, but good for our planet and our communities. On top of our significant investment in electric vehicles and autonomous technology, earlier this year, we established a $25 million climate equity fund dedicated to helping close equity gaps in the transition to electric vehicles and other sustainable technology. Our partners in the media will play a critical role in highlighting mobility and connectivity challenges and opportunities, and informing communities around the world as we drive to this new sustainable and equitable future. I wish you all the best for the future, and thank you for your commitment to quality in journalism. Thank you.
ABC News has also been a partner and friend of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents, and we are delighted to have ABC News foreign correspondent James Longman here with us from London. James, welcome and greetings from New York.
Hi everyone, I'm James Longman from ABC News. What a time it is to be in foreign news. I mean, I feel like we hear this all the time, how busy it is, but it really is busier than ever. I mean, you're talking from war and conflict and climate change forcing mass migration, terrorism and dictatorships pushing the boundaries of what it means to be free and threatening democracy. COVID obviously is still worrying a lot of people all over the world. And I just think, the general trend of what you see is a widening inequality gap, which is only going to get worse. And then the world is going to become a more unstable and more unsafe place. So yeah, lots of work to do, really busy, but also obviously a privilege. And clearly, we live in an age of disinformation. In foreign, it is especially important, I think, because what's happening across the world is that much further away from our audience at home. So, that's the service that we render the public who are watching. ABC News is really proud to support all American journalists all over the world, and obviously our colleagues in the United States who are reporting on America as a foreign country as well. The Foreign Press Correspondents Association's work is critical. And, I just want to say tonight, as these professional scholarships are handed out, thank you to these new foreign journalists. You are in for quite a ride, I can assure you. I am really proud to be part of ABC News' family. I think I'm probably even prouder to be part of a kind of fraternity of foreign journalists. We all share our experiences, some of them kind of crazy, others really heartwarming, many very sad. But it is what binds us, and it's a really amazing thing to be part of. So we're spread all over the world, but we are all linked by these shared experiences. And I think the commitment to make sure that what we're telling people back home is true, so that their perspectives can be widened. And what an honor it is to do that job. So anyone joining this group of people tonight, welcome and congratulations again to all those who are getting these scholarships.
The Volkswagen Group of America is a valued long-term supporter of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents and all the work the association does to support foreign correspondents in the United States through educational programs, scholarships, prizes, mentorship, and foreign correspondents media platform. It's a privilege to partner with Volkswagen Group of America, and it's a privilege to have with us today the president of Volkswagen Group of America, Mr. Scott Keogh. Mr. Keogh, welcome and thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Scott Keogh, the president and CEO of the Volkswagen Group of America. It is truly an honor to join you today. As I look at the headlines from a global pandemic to civil unrest to unprecedented changes within the transportation sector, I'm reminded of the importance of the work you do each and every day. Because here's the thing, those were the headlines in 1918, the year the Foreign Press was founded. Fast forward just over 100 years later, and the stories somehow remain the same. COVID-19, the ongoing pursuit of justice worldwide, and more innovation coming from the automotive industry than we've perhaps seen over the course of that entire century. It is your role as torchbearers of the truth that puts those stories in a modern context, illuminating the implications of those headlines. I actually studied comparative literature in college and spent a lot of time in Latin America volunteering on development projects. Those combined experiences inspired a long-term dream of becoming a foreign correspondent for my beloved hometown newspaper, the New York Times. A few zigs and zags instead brought me to Volkswagen of America, where we are proud to partner with the Press Association and support your individual dreams and the collective mission to advance global journalism. So on behalf of everybody here at Volkswagen of America, congratulations to our scholarship and award recipients today. Whether you're just getting started or getting ready to sign off one last time, it is your commitment to the truth that we depend on and thank you for sincerely. After all, we are living in an era of profound complexity. In turn, we see leaders step forward from villages and classrooms and even corporations to navigate that complexity and chart a course for a future in which doing right by each other is simply the right thing to do. For our part, our future is electric. The global Volkswagen Group has gone all in on electric vehicle development, committing more than $70 billion up to 2025, accelerating the drive toward electrification and digitization. As Volkswagen of America, we're including an $800 million expansion of our Chattanooga, Tennessee production facility here in the United States, which will begin producing our flagship electric vehicle, the ID.4, later next year. We call these collective efforts and initiatives our Way to Zero, our roadmap toward carbon neutral mobility for everyone. And we will look to you to keep us honest in pursuit of our most ambitious goals, alerting us to our blind spots and preparing us for any hazards on the road ahead. Because this, frankly, is what you do. And you do it oftentimes without a claim. In fact, far too frequently, you do it despite the cynicism, skepticism, and in some cases, danger that has infiltrated your sacred institution. My hope is that you stay the course, that you hold the torch higher so it may burn brighter, to draw the truth from the shadows and illuminate the very best within each and every one of us. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Another valuable and long-standing supporter of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents is Procter & Gamble and its Chief Communications Officer, Damon Jones. Procter & Gamble and Damon are among the strongest and most valuable allies of the foreign press correspondence community. We are thrilled to have Damon Jones here with us today. Damon, welcome.
On behalf of everyone here at Procter & Gamble, I'd like to congratulate this year's scholarship winners and professional prize awardees. The class of 2021 is once again an amazing group of journalists who are shining light on important stories, ranging from war and conflict to politics and culture to international health crises and other prominent issues affecting not just the global business community, but the global human community. To the winners, thank you for your commitment to furthering your craft. Your journalism touches lives and benefits so many people. At P&G, we talk about the role we play as a global corporate citizen, being a force for growth and a force for good. Each of you is an important part of that equation, holding us and many others accountable for the commitments we make. So thank you for this work. I'd also like to thank the Foreign Press Correspondents Association for the critically important work you do in developing and nurturing the next generation of great talent, equipping them to step up and play a vital role in telling stories the world needs to hear. Journalism done well is a powerful force in democracy, and that one that we've underappreciated until we've seen it come under attack. I'm grateful to the many sponsors, supporters, mentors, and advocates participating in this program for all that you do and all that we continue to do together to strengthen this vital institution all around the world. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to do our part on this journey.
And now we are excited to welcome here in our studio our next guest speaker and Foreign Press Honorary Awardee, Fran Lebowitz. Fran Lebowitz is an American author, journalist, and social observer She is known for her sardonic social commentary on American life as filtered through her New York City sensibilities. The New York Times has called her modern-day Dorothy Parker. She is known for her books Metropolitan Life, 1978, and Social Studies, 1981, which were combined into the Fran Lebowitz Reader in 1994. She has been the subject of two projects directed by Martin Scorsese, the HBO documentary film Public Speaking, and most recently, the Netflix docuseries Pretend It's a City. From what I see, our executive director, Panos Dimadis, and Fran Lebowitz have already taken their seats in our studio. On behalf of Association of Foreign Press Correspondents, congratulations, Fran Lebowitz, for being the Honorary Foreign Press Awardee for 2021. Thanos, we now come to you.
It's a pleasure, it's an honor, a privilege to be here with you today. Thank you on behalf of the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents for being with us, for accepting our honorary award, the Foreign Press Honorary Award this year. And my first question for all those watching us is, the award is a recognition. Most people, do you agree that they don't understand what has been behind to reach the point of getting an award? There is a lot of hard work, probably a lot of years of disappointments, failures, successes. I would like to hear from you a little bit of the story, the background story of how a person can reach out this level, the point that you are today.
I have to tell you, this is the second award I've ever received in my life, and the first one was like 2 weeks ago. So, and the first one was an Italian award for satire, and the guy I talked to from the organization told me, this is a Lifetime Achievement Award. I said, what? He said, yes. I said, well, here's what you have to understand. Usually when you get a Lifetime Achievement Award, it's preceded by many other awards. This is the first award I ever got, all right? There was this Lifetime Achievement Award. So maybe my life's gonna go backwards, and in 25 years, I'll graduate from high school. So this is the second award. So to me, what this shows really is what I've been saying to my friends for a few years. This is the era of the old lady. You know, that's what it has to be. You know, that everyone decided finally, you know who we like? Old ladies. I mean, of course the world prefers dead women, but you know, next to dead, old is better. So I really believe that, you know, when I was young, you know, my first book came out when I was 27. There was an award I should have gotten then, in my opinion. I didn't get anything. So, you know, I mean, of course the world has changed immensely in that amount of time, but it's changed in that direction. I now know that young women also get things, but you know, it's too late for me to get something young, so I'm happy to get it old.
So you think that if you were in this era today and you were younger, in your 20s, do you think that you could have more possibilities, more opportunities to be recognized earlier, like at that level?
Because no question. I mean, you know, my first book was a big hit, you know, great reviews and stuff like that, but I didn't get any awards, you know.
Do you think that there was a little bit of discrimination?
No, a lot.
A lot?
Not a little bit. Okay, a lot. I mean, one of the things that, I mean, a lot of things have deteriorated in my lifetime, but one of the things that has improved immensely is the position of women. I mean, it's not good, but it is so much better. You know, I mean, it's better in some places than others. This was always the case. But no, yes, of course, it's much better. You know.
So you would like to be in your 20s today, and what would you do differently if you were in your 20s?
I'd buy an apartment. That's the main thing. It's not a question whether I would like to be in my 20s now. You know, I mean, lots of people, of course, people who are younger than me, which is pretty much everyone now, ask me all the time. You know, kids come up to me in the street for the past 10 years at least. And when I say kids, I mean people in their 20s, asking, you know, saying to me, oh, I wish I lived in New York in the 70s. It looks so much fun, you know. And this, in a certain way, is quite disturbing because I believe that nostalgia is an incredibly poisonous, you know, emotion or, you know, sensibility. Nostalgia for something you never lived through is kind of crazy. But I also know that when I was in my 20s, I didn't go up to people in the street saying, I wish I lived in New York in my 30s, you know. But the reason for that, I don't think has anything to do with me. I think it has to do with the fact that the 70s in New York has now achieved this kind of worldwide, you know, position the way like Paris in the 20s. You know, there's some eras that just seem very glamorous to people. So I have spent a lot of time in the last several years trying to determine whether I think something was better because it was actually better, or because it's just simply better to be in your 20s than in your 60s or 70s. It's more fun, by which I mean. No, it's just better. So, I would say that, of course, any person would rather be in their 20s than 70. But since every person can only be in their 20s once, truthfully, I'm glad I was in my 20s then. Because, the worse the world looks to me, the more you think, well, whenever these cataclysmic things are supposed to happen, in 30 years there'll be no water. But at first when I hear this, I always think, oh my God, then I realize you'll be dead. Don't worry about there's no water, but they should worry about it, So I think it's a very, it did seem, when I was young, that it didn't seem so dire, the future, as it seems now. I hope that these predictions are wrong, but even if I'm not here, but things are pretty bad worldwide. It's not like there's one country where you think, why don't we have that president? There's no place in the world where I think they have a fantastic government. Democracies across the world are in a lot of trouble.
Do you think that the younger generation of people, of young professionals who are now in their 20s, 30s, they're trying to set up their lives, do you think that they have the same prospect of hope that you had at that age? No,
I don't, because I don't know how they feel. How other people feel, I only know what they tell me. So half the time I don't know how I feel.
You speak with a lot of people younger.
Yes, one of the big differences is, this may be just true of me as opposed to everyone my age. I never thought about the future in that way when I was young. First of all, I was not, they're very much more organized than I was. And in fact, that most people my age were. They're really organized. At a very young age, they said, I want to go to this school, I want to get this job, I want to live in this place, I want to make this much money, I want to marry this person. They're used to ordering things in a very specific way. This was not true of me. At all. So I never really thought about it. It just never occurred to me. I think that because when you do that, which everyone does now, then you can very easily fail. In other words, because this stuff is made up. The future is a fantasy for everybody. I don't care how you prepare. No one knows the future. So when people ask me all the time, we also now have, at least in this country, hundreds, thousands of people whose profession is predicting the future. They're almost all wrong all the time. And I always say when people tell me something like that, if you really know the future, buy a lottery ticket. And then you have to worry about this stuff. So I don't know what's going to happen. It doesn't look swell to me. But if I was, it's also the question, if you were young now, is an impossible one to answer. Because, I'm sorry, there's no context for me being young now. If I was young now, I would be a completely different person.
In what way?
In every possible way.
I would, now what you just said brings me to my next question on what would you have done differently? Like 3 major things that you would have done different, except for the apartment, that you had bought an apartment. Other 3 major things that you would change?
I think I would have been better off noticing so that some of the things that happened to me or some of the obstacles I encountered were not about me. They were about, for instance, being a woman, which I never thought about. They were about being gay, which I did know about. So there were. When I say I took everything personally, I don't mean in a tragic way, but I thought you have to do this. This isn't working. You have to do that. And I just thought of that this was me, not this was the forces of the society against me. In a way, I think that's good. And there were certain things I just skipped. Okay, for instance, feminism as a form of activism, was starting in the 70s, and I never was involved with it. And it wasn't that I thought they were wrong; it's that I thought this is never going to work. And it really hasn't worked very well, by the way. It worked better than I thought it would, but it didn't really work. The same thing with gay rights. They were starting this stuff, and I thought, are you crazy? This is never going to work. The extent to which that worked, is unimaginable, really unimaginable. The one thing that I was involved with was, the protests against the Vietnam War. That did seem to work, but of course in retrospect I see why. It had something to do with the fact they were marching and stuff like that. But that is an incident as opposed to something, that is in the fabric of the culture.
Let's talk a little bit about journalism, disinformation. Do you think that it is a real threat in our society, the disinformation aspect of how the new technology and online digital information tools have been spreading this misinformation? And do you think that journalism can save a little bit of the historical truth of what is happening around us for the future generations?
It's the most dangerous thing in the culture. Before the internet, from a point of view of journalism, when journalism was newspapers, radio, television, especially here, there was no argument that was not settled by the person saying, if you said, why do you think that? And they say, it was in the New York Times. That was the end of any argument. The New York Times was like the authority of the entire country. So, and of course they had mistakes, but not the kind of mistakes you see now. So I think that it's a better thing that there are, venues, or publications or something that everyone agrees. No one argued. No one said, the New York Times is wrong. There's not really a war in Vietnam. There was nothing like. I suppose there were still some lunatics, with conspiracy theory. There were people who didn't think that the United States, sent a man to the moon, but it was like 2 people, not half the country. So it's very dangerous, this stuff now. It's extremely dangerous. It's the most dangerous thing there is.
What do you think that make up success for a person, for a professional, for a journalist, based on all of your wisdom that you have accumulated over the years? You carry wisdom, and that's why people like to hear you. It's not because you are only provocative and you have views that are opposed to the common sense sometimes, or the basic common logic. It's because you carry wisdom, and I think that in our age, in our era, it is important to have people who bring wisdom in this landscape of disinformation and, easily consuming stuff.
It's only because when you're old, you remember things. I at least, some old people don't. There are people even older than me. Not in the room, of course. But, until COVID, every single after a certain age, I don't know what age that would be, but like say your 40s or something like that, no matter what happened, it would remind you of something else. That's what looks like wisdom to people. Like, this is, you may not even say, this is kind of like that, so this would happen. COVID was not like anything that ever happened in my lifetime. There was no analogy to it. It did not remind me of anything, and hence I did not know how to think about it. When it first happened, when I first kind of realized it was, what was happening, the first thing I realized after that was, I don't know how to think about this. Not that I don't know how to feel about it. Also, most people, at least in this country, say think when they mean feel. So I know the difference between feel and think. That's a very important distinction, I think. So Toni Morrison, who was a very close friend of mine, as soon as this happened, I said to the guy who was my editor and her editor and a close friend of both of us, I said, I miss Toni every day, but don't you miss her right now the most? He said, yes. I said, because we don't know how to think about this. And even though Toni, who was quite a bit older than me, wasn't so old that she remembered the 1918 flu epidemic, she still would have, I could have said, Toni, how do you think about this? Not what do you think about this? What's the best way to think about this? And if anyone would have known, she would have known. So by the time I figured out how to think about this, it was months into it. So now, should this happen again, I know how to think about it. But and that was hampered everybody, even people in charge of things, which I've never been in charge of anything. But the fact that people respond so emotionally to everything, is really to the detriment of society.
My last question, because I would love to have a conversation, endless conversation with you, but my last question is, what is the message you would like to send out to the young journalists who start their career right now with a lot of dreams, a lot of hopes, sometimes a lot of planning of what they're going to do in their future? What is your advice from your wisdom perspective?
I mean, there are certain jobs in journalism, I don't know how they get people to do them. The people that I see, or read about, who are in places where there's wars, where there's earthquakes, and my whole life I've thought this, I've thought, like, how do they get people to do this? I am way too cowardly to ever have been involved in anything like that. I have a tremendous amount of physical cowardice, more than the average person. There seem to be a lot of people willing to do this. There seem to be, there's two ways, there's more than two, but, among the ways that people can respond to danger like that is either to be terrified and say, no, you go, or to think this is an important thing. I want to report on this. It's incredibly important. It's incredibly important that among the real job of journalists, which is to tell the truth, I'm afraid that younger people have to convince a lot of people this is the truth. Here I am, I'm standing here, here is this war going on, and half the country here says it's a fake picture. That is now a new job of journalism, is to convince people this is reality. To have to convince people that this is reality is a pretty daunting task, and I would say to these people, good luck.
It is time now to connect virtually with Israel, where our last but not least Honorary Foreign Press Awardee is based. Professor Yuval Noah Harari is a historian, philosopher, and the best-selling author of *Sapiens, Homo Deus, 21 Lessons for 21st Century, and *Sapiens, A Graphic History. His books have sold over 35 million copies in 65 languages, and he is considered one of the world's most influential public intellectuals today. He is also the co-founder of Sapienship, a social impact company focused on education, entertainment. I see Thanos Dimadis, our executive director, is waiting for us to connect with Israel and find there our Honorary Foreign Press Awardee, Professor Yuval Noah Harari. Thanos, we come to you.
Yuval, thank you so much for being here with us. Congratulations of being one of our Honorary Foreign Press Awardees this year. We would like to hear, first of all, how do you feel? What message you would like to share with the foreign correspondents community in the US? And we are eager to hear your perspective.
I think that the events of the recent year or 2 years have shown us the enormous importance. If anybody needed proof of the importance of good journalism, the COVID crisis provided it. It shows us what happens when we cannot trust the information that we receive from governments or from corrupted news organizations. Then it can really lead to a global catastrophe. That people don't trust the medical information they receive, they don't trust the regulations from the government, and it's 2 years since the beginning of the crisis, and we still don't really know what happened in the first few crucial weeks. And as the way things look at the moment, maybe we will never know.
What do you think is the role of journalism in shaping history, in current history and in the future? How do you think that historians can use the reporting on the ground produced by working journalists to monitor and to report history? Because we are reporting the news means also that we report history that can be assessed and evaluated in the future.
You know, in ancient times, the border between historian and journalist was non-existent, really. Many of the people we think about as the first historians, like Herodotus or Thucydides, were actually more like journalists in the way that we understand it today. I would say that the biggest difference in the end is one of perspective. That journalists, you know, they chase the news cycle of the day, maybe of the week, maybe of the year, whereas historians are the ones who take a broader perspective over decades and centuries, and sometimes, like in my case, over thousands and tens of thousands of years. And we basically work together. I mean, historians rely on the journalistic work, not just to understand what's happening now, of course, but also a lot of the reports that we use to write history were created by journalists in the past, and vice versa. Journalists rely on the perspectives provided by historians to understand what's happening right now. I mean, again, we saw it during the first weeks of the pandemic, when in terms of lived experience, for many people this was something completely new. It never happened something like this in my lifetime. But then immediately you go to the history books and you read about the 1918 influenza pandemic, or you read about the waves of epidemics that killed almost 90% of the indigenous population of America after the coming of the Europeans, or you read about the Black Death. And this shapes and informs your understanding of what is happening right now. What can we expect further down the line? What is really new? And what is just the same pattern repeating itself again and again?
I don't know if you agree with me, but you know, we see today in the digital landscape of journalism that a lot of journalists are trying to report the news, and some of them are going after who is going to get more clicks and who is going to get more viewership. Do you think that the journalists today, or your hope is that the future generation of journalists will undertake their role as the preliminary stage of assessing history, like helping historians in the future of how to assess and evaluate historical moments and events, and that it's something more serious and more important than just getting the clicks and the temporary viewership?
I would actually go for a third objective. I mean, just writing to get clicks is extremely dangerous because, you know, the truth is often complicated and painful. So if you just publish the truth, very few people will click on you. And on the other hand, I wouldn't go for trying to shape the long-term historical view of events, because then you get away, you get further from your real task, which is informing people in the present about what is happening. It's a different way of approaching the material. I think we should leave history to the historians of the future. They will take care of the kind of long-term assessment of the COVID crisis. If you try to shape the views of future historians, then again, the danger is that you will kind of twist the facts, or you will twist what you consider to be the facts, so that we'll have a good impression on future historians, or that the historians will get the impressions that I want. So I hope that journalists will leave aside future historians, but also be able to overcome this desire for clicks, which is difficult, I know, because this is, in many cases, it's not just a question of, you know, vanity, it's a question of livelihood. If you don't get the clicks, you lose the job. But the really difficult thing, and I think here historians and journalists are in the same boat, in the same predicament, that the truth is really complicated and painful, and people often just don't want to hear it. A politician that will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in his or her election campaign, in any country in the world, has an almost 100% guarantee of losing the elections. People like in Israel, they don't want to know the truth about Israel. In the US, they don't want to know the truth about the US. And even if you leave aside the question of it being painful, it's just very complicated. Like, to understand the pandemic, or to understand climate change, that's extremely complicated, not because people are stupid or because people are not educated, nothing. It's just that the scientific reality of these processes is not just immensely complicated. Our brains did not really evolve to understand processes on this level. You know, we are basically apes from East Africa, and we evolved under conditions in which we never encountered viruses. We never knew that viruses existed, and we had no real impact on the ecological system. So trying to understand how what I do influences the climate, this is not what you need to survive in the African savanna. So our brains are really programmed to be very interested in things like who in my tribe hates me, and who is in alliance with whom against a third party, so I can make these kinds of deals and things like that. And this is still the things that most fascinates us. Like if you write gossip about a politician that hates another politician, or you write an item about a new study of how methane influences climate, everybody will click on the gossip. It's just the way that we are wired.
Do you think that the social media and the new technologies has contributed towards that direction of how the human brain works, like consuming the easy information and having resistance to go deeper and analyze more in depth?
They didn't create it, of course. It was there before, and we saw it previously in history. You know, fake news, conspiracy theories, all these things, they are very old news. You look at 100 years ago, and the world, like, you look at the Nazi propaganda, or Soviet propaganda, it's even worse conspiracy theories and worse fake news than what we see today. I mean, the whole of Nazi ideology is basically a one big conspiracy theory about how the Jews control the world and things like that. And so this is not new. What is new is that we now really have the technology to hack the human brain in a way which was previously impossible. You know, when Hitler gives a speech on the radio, he can't know what is the reaction of each and every individual in Germany and how to tailor his message, his words differently to different people. It's just technically impossible. Now it's feasible, not just feasible, it's happening. We are now basically being hacked. That there is a lot of talk on hacking computers and smartphones, but the really important thing that is being hacked is human beings. That with enough data about me and enough computing power, you can know what I personally hate and fear or fantasize about. And then you turn this against me, you find my weaknesses, and then you can press the hate button in my mind, the fear button in my mind. And you know, the business model of many of these platforms, it's not like they want to deliberately spread conspiracy theories and fake news. No, they want to keep you on the platform longer. And unfortunately, the easiest way to keep people on the platform longer and make them click on more things is to press the anger button in your mind. That you see the politicians you most hate in the world, and you see this kind of clickable heading. What did he do this time? I must see, I must click. And it's almost irresistible. They are using our weaknesses against us. And it's, you know, like we eat junk food. So this is junk food for the mind. It's not good for us, but it's irresistible. And I'm not against social media. I think it has done also a lot of good for humanity. It gave voice to a lot of many groups which previously were voiceless. I don't miss the 1950s when everybody agreed on the same reality, because you just had 2 or 3 networks and lots of groups had absolutely no voice at all. And also, one other thing about social media is that it released an immense flood of creativity. You know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, many of the media giants, they believed that humans were couch potatoes. That we sit on couches and just passively consume content. And this is one of the reasons they didn't buy the new apps like YouTube when they could have done it. Because they didn't figure out, okay, we buy YouTube, who will produce all the videos all the millions of videos. It's impossible. But what social media did, it transformed billions of people from couch potatoes into artists and producers. And that's a good thing. So we don't need to get rid of social media. We just need to improve, to have some regulations that improve the business model and bring out the best of the technology and avoid the worst.
Margin and the room for improvements in modern journalism today. What do you see as things that can be improved, that while you're watching the news or the way that journalists reports from around the world and the journalist product that is produced by working journalists, what are the improvements that should be made, or you would like, you hope, you wish to see?
Journalism is a profession in its own right, and it's not my profession. I'm coming from a close field, but a different field, so I don't really know. I'm not an expert. It's not good to get advice from somebody who is not an expert. I would say something that I would like very much to see, and this is more freedom of press. In many countries around the world in recent years, after many years in which gradually there was more freedom of press and more freedom of expression, the last few years have seen really a setback as the situation in many countries deteriorates. So I hope that governments across the world support freedom of press even when it's difficult for them. Because, again, this goes back to the pandemic. You need reliable sources of information, especially in a crisis. But in a crisis, it's too late. If you suppress the freedom of the press for years, or you corrupted the press for years, and now there is a crisis, and you need reliable press, you can't just, have a genie from the bottle, okay, now we want a good press. No. You need to work on it for years, so that it will be there in a time of crisis.
Today we present the scholarships for foreign journalists, young journalists pursuing master studies in the US. We present the prizes of professional excellence for foreign correspondents based on their reporting. What would you like to share as a message with these awardees today?
That journalism is one of the most important jobs in society. You serve as a kind of the nerve system of the human community, that you transmit the information, and without good journalists who not only have the freedom to write what they see, but really also have the courage to tell inconvenient truth, to tell complicated stories, we can't have a good society. And also I would like to emphasize one thing which is more from my profession. You also need to be good storytellers. That, again, many of the most important subjects in the world today, like climate change, they are inherently complicated and alien to the brain. It's objectively difficult to connect to them. So to report on these things, you also need the skill of storytelling, how to take this complicated, messy reality and turn it into a story that everybody can understand and can engage with. And this is art. So I think that an important part of being a good journalist is also to be an artist.
Thank you very much, Yuval, for addressing the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents annual award ceremony. We really appreciate your presence and your time and sharing your insights and thoughts with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can't believe it, but that wraps up our Foreign Press Awards, all our scholarships, and the professional prizes ceremony. And we want to thank all of you in the audience for joining us virtually today. And we hope that these inspirational remarks from our partners, guest speakers, and really all of the honorees will encourage excellence in journalism and support for the education of journalists in the U.S. and really across the globe. When we strengthen our partnership with these private sector stakeholders, we strengthen our commitment to fact-based reporting and press freedom around the world. And that could not be more important. Mamoe, it's been a pleasure co-hosting this event with you today.
Well, thank you so much, Cecil. And thank you all for being part of our annual awardee celebration. Have a great day.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.